There comes a moment in life when you realize that waiting for perfect circumstances is a silent trap. You keep postponing your peace for a future that never arrives. You promise yourself that you will feel better once the pressure decreases, once people change, once your plans unfold exactly as imagined. But the days keep coming with their irregular rhythm, their unexpected turns, their small irritations and quiet challenges. And while you try to control everything around you, something inside grows more tired, more reactive, more distant from the happiness you thought would appear on the horizon. The truth is simpler and harder at the same time. Happiness built on conditions will always dissolve. What remains is the inner posture you bring to each day. Stoicism offers a way to shift that posture. It invites you to stop negotiating your calm with the outside world and start creating stability from the inside out. It teaches that the quality of your life is shaped less by events and more by the meanings you attach to them. A difficult morning can be the beginning of a terrible day or the beginning of clarity. A setback can be a punishment or a lesson. A disappointment can be a wound or an awakening. When your perspective changes, your emotional world transforms with it. And that is where our journey begins. 5 Stoic principles chosen for their ability to create real, lasting strength, even when life bends in uncomfortable directions. Lesson 1. Question the first reaction, not the situation. The first reaction is rarely the truth. It is fast, loud, unfiltered. It appears before you have time to breathe. Something happens and, within seconds, your mind constructs a meaning and your body follows with emotion. A delayed message becomes rejection. A short reply becomes disrespect. A small mistake becomes incompetence. A moment of silence becomes a threat. None of these interpretations are facts. They are projections. But because they appear instantly, they feel real. And because they feel real, you react as if they were unquestionable. Stoicism teaches you to slow down the space between stimulus and response. Instead of accepting the first interpretation as final, you learn to observe it with curiosity. You recognize that not every thought deserves obedience. Some thoughts are echoes of old fears. Some are exaggerations created by fatigue. Some are memories disguised as predictions. When you pause long enough to examine the reaction, you often discover that the situation itself is far simpler than the story your mind built around it. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. When faced with frustration, he would mentally strip the event down to its simplest form. No assumptions, no emotional coloring, no dramatic conclusion, only the raw fact. This act of simplification dissolves much of the suffering. The mind loses its grip, the emotion weakens, and the situation becomes something you can respond to instead of something that overwhelms you. By questioning the first reaction, you reclaim your ability to choose your next step. Modern psychology mirrors this ancient insight. Studies show that the brain reacts automatically to perceived threats, even when the threat is only imagined. The initial emotional surge is a protective reflex, not a conclusion. When you challenge that reflex, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for clarity and reasoning, re-enters the conversation. In other words, you return to yourself. This practice is not about suppressing emotion. It is about giving yourself the chance to understand what is truly happening before you decide how to act. When you stop assuming the worst, you stop suffering twice. Once from the event, and once from the story you added to it. And in that gap between reaction and truth, you find a small, quiet freedom. The kind that grows stronger every time you choose to pause, reflect, and see with clearer eyes. Lesson 2. Do less so you can live more deeply. One of the greatest illusions of modern life is the idea that doing more leads to becoming more. We fill our schedules with tasks, hopes, demands, and obligations, as if the sheer volume of activity could somehow grant meaning to our days. We move quickly, think quickly, jump from one responsibility to another, and confuse motion with progress. But beneath all that movement, there is often a quiet exhaustion. The feeling of being busy without being fulfilled, active without being present, productive without being alive. Stoicism challenges this illusion with a simple and uncomfortable truth. A meaningful life is built not on excess, but on intention. Marcus Aurelius wrote repeatedly about the importance of doing only what is essential, and doing it with full presence. The purpose of life, he argued, is not to scatter your attention in every direction, but to aim it deliberately toward what actually matters. When you reduce the unnecessary, everything that remains becomes richer. You think more clearly. You act with more precision. You experience with more depth. The problem is that most people aren't overwhelmed because they have too much to do. They're overwhelmed because they do too much that doesn't matter. They carry responsibilities that aren't theirs. They chase expectations they didn't choose. They respond to every demand as if every demand were urgent. And they forget that the human mind cannot sustain constant acceleration without losing itself in the process. Chaos comes not from the outside world, but from the inner refusal to pause, to simplify, to choose. To live with intention is to reclaim authority over your time. It's the ability to say no without guilt, yes without pressure, and pause without fear. It's choosing depth over speed, purpose over noise, clarity over distraction. When you do less, you aren't lowering your standards. You're creating the space necessary to meet them. You're giving your attention the room it needs to be powerful again. You're allowing yourself to inhabit your own life instead of rushing through it. And the effects are immediate. When you speak to someone with full attention, the conversation changes. When you work on something without interruption, your productivity increases while your stress decreases. When you walk without rushing, your mind begins to settle. When you eat without distraction, your senses return. When you focus on one task instead of 10, your presence sharpens and the noise dissolves. This doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means redefining it. The Stoics were far from passive. They were focused. Their strength came from direction, not from intensity. They understood that the mind becomes scattered when pulled in too many directions and becomes powerful when anchored in one. By doing less, you make room for excellence. By slowing down, you finally notice what deserves your energy and what only drains it. The world will always try to convince you that you need more. More speed, more commitments, more achievements, more noise. But you are allowed to choose a different path. You are allowed to build a life that feels spacious instead of suffocating. You are allowed to create a rhythm that matches your values instead of the world's demands. Doing less is not a retreat. It is a return to clarity, to intention, and ultimately, to yourself. Before we continue, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment sharing one habit you want to improve in your life. Your engagement helps this message reach more people who need it. Lesson 3. Accept loss without losing yourself. Loss is something everyone meets sooner or later. A relationship fades, an opportunity disappears, a plan collapses, a version of yourself no longer fits who you are becoming. Even when you know that life is built on constant movement, every loss feels like a small fracture. It shakes expectations, rearranges routines, and tests your emotional balance. But Stoicism teaches a perspective that transforms these moments entirely. Loss is not a failure. It is a natural part of life's rhythm. What matters is not avoiding loss, but learning how to remain whole as things fall away. The Stoics understood that clinging creates suffering. When you hold tightly to things that are temporary by nature, you create the illusion of stability where none exists. People change, circumstances evolve, opportunities expire, paths diverge. Trying to force permanence in a world built on impermanence is a quiet self-punishment. Accepting loss is not coldness. It is respect for reality. It is recognizing that everything you love exists in a constant state of transition, and that this doesn't diminish its meaning, it deepens it. Seneca often reminded himself that nothing truly belongs to us. We are caretakers, not owners. We spend time with people we cherish, but they walk their own path. We enjoy moments that move us, but they fade into memory. We hold dreams close, but some are meant to evolve or end. Accepting this truth softens the fear of losing because the value no longer depends on duration. What matters is presence, gratitude, awareness. When the time comes to let go, you release with dignity instead of breaking under the weight of resistance. Modern psychology calls this radical acceptance, the ability to acknowledge what has already happened without denying, fighting, or dramatizing it. This acceptance does not erase sadness. It gives sadness a direction. Instead of drowning in what was, you make space for what is. Instead of holding on to a story that ended, you begin writing a new one. Instead of defining yourself by the loss, you discover who you are beyond it. Loss becomes not an ending, but a turning point. This lesson doesn't tell you to suppress pain. Pain is human. But suffering becomes unbearable when you believe that loss should not happen. When you accept that loss is woven into the structure of life, something remarkable occurs. You stop fighting reality, and reality stops crushing you. Grief becomes a teacher, not a prison. Change becomes evolution, not punishment. Letting go becomes wisdom, not defeat. There is a quiet strength in someone who has accepted the natural flow of life. They do not fear endings because they trust their capacity to begin again. They do not cling to people out of desperation because they understand connection is meaningful precisely because it is fragile. They do not resist change because they know that resisting will not stop it, it will only make it heavier. To accept loss without losing yourself is to say, I will not be defined by what leaves. I will be defined by how I continue. This is the heart of Stoic resilience. Life will take things from you, but it cannot take your ability to grow, to adapt, to rise, to rebuild. What leaves can no longer serve you. What stays shapes who you are becoming. And what arrives next might be exactly what you were meant to meet. Lesson 4. Respond less, understand more. Most people move through the world reacting, not responding. Someone raises their voice, and you raise yours. Someone criticizes you, and you defend yourself instantly. Someone disappoints you, and you shut down before understanding what actually happened. Reactions appear fast, fierce, and often unexamined. They feel satisfying for a moment, but they leave behind a trail of tension and regret. Stoicism offers a different path. Slow down the impulse, not the awareness. When you learn to understand before reacting, you take back control of your inner world. The Stoics believed that a person who reacts to everything is a person controlled by everything. Anger, frustration, jealousy, irritation. These emotions are natural, but they can quickly become masters if you allow them to lead the way. Every time you respond impulsively, you hand your power to the situation. Every time you speak before thinking, you let the moment decide who you are. And every time you let your emotions command your actions, you train your mind to believe that your peace is fragile and easily stolen. Marcus Aurelius practiced the art of premeditation, preparing himself each morning for the possibility of rude, selfish, or difficult people. Not because he expected conflict, but because he understood that people act from their own fears, wounds, and illusions. Their behavior is a reflection of them, not of you. When you enter the day aware of this, you stop personalizing what doesn't belong to you. You stop treating everything as an attack. You begin to see that most situations demand less emotion and more clarity. Responding less does not mean staying silent or accepting disrespect. It means recognizing when a reaction will help and when it will harm. Sometimes silence is strength. Sometimes a pause is wisdom. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to be pulled into a storm that isn't yours. Understanding the intention behind someone's actions often reveals that the conflict was not truly about you. A stressed person lashes out. A confused person misunderstands. A wounded person reacts defensively. When you see the human behind the behavior, your heart softens and your mind sharpens. Modern neuroscience helps explain why this approach works. When you react impulsively, your amygdala, the brain's threat center, takes over. It interprets inconvenience as danger and mistakes discomfort for attack. But when you slow your response, you activate the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and reflection. This small pause shifts the entire outcome. You reclaim the ability to choose your tone, your words, your posture. Instead of escalating tension, you calm it. Instead of fueling chaos, you dissolve it. There is immense freedom in becoming someone who cannot be easily provoked. Imagine hearing criticism without feeling the need to defend yourself. Imagine receiving a harsh message and choosing not to mirror its negativity. Imagine observing your own anger rise and deciding not to follow it blindly. This is not weakness, it is mastery. Calmness is not passivity, it is precision. It allows you to choose the right battle, the right moment, the right response. Understanding more also means understanding yourself. What triggers you? What wounds are still active? What situations make you feel small or threatened? When you notice these patterns, you stop reacting from old pain and start responding from new wisdom. You begin to see that the world is not attacking you. It is revealing where you still need healing. Every moment of irritation becomes an invitation to grow. The person who understands more is not controlled by external noise. They move with intention, not impulse. They listen before they speak. They observe before they decide. They breathe before they act. They choose clarity over chaos, wisdom over ego, presence over reaction. And, slowly, they become unshakable. Not because life becomes easy, but because understanding creates a kind of armor that no emotion-driven reaction can offer. To respond less and understand more is to protect your peace without closing your heart. It is to step out of the battlefield and into a space of awareness where you can see the truth more clearly. It is choosing not to be dragged into every conflict, not to be shaped by every misunderstanding, not to become a mirror of someone else's storm. It is the quiet power of someone who knows that the mind is strongest when it observes, not when it explodes. Lesson 5. Build strength through small daily acts. Strength is often imagined as something grand. Heroic actions, dramatic victories, bold decisions made in moments of crisis. But the Stoics understood that real strength is quiet, consistent, and built through actions so small that most people overlook them. Character is not formed in extraordinary situations. It is revealed by them. Character is formed in the ordinary, in the private, in the choices you make when no one is watching. Every day you are training yourself, whether you realize it or not. Stoicism teaches that discipline is not a mood, but a practice. You do not become strong by waiting to feel motivated. You become strong by honoring your commitments even when motivation is absent. You build inner stability every time you follow through on something you promised yourself. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing the task you tried to avoid. Speaking with patience when impatience rises. Eating with intention instead of impulse. Pausing before reacting. These moments appear insignificant, but each one reinforces a message to your mind. I am someone I can rely on. Seneca believed that self-trust was the foundation of a peaceful life. A person who does not trust themselves cannot trust the day ahead. They live in a state of inner negotiation, always promising change but rarely practicing it. But when your daily actions align with your values, your self-respect grows quietly, steadily. You begin to stand taller, speak clearer, act with more intention. Your confidence becomes rooted in evidence. Evidence that you keep your own word. Modern psychology supports this completely. The theory of self-efficacy, developed by renowned psychologist Albert Bandura, shows that confidence increases not by thinking positively, but by witnessing yourself succeed in small steps. Each small victory becomes a psychological anchor. You no longer depend on external validation to feel capable. Your own consistency becomes your source of strength. And when challenges appear, you face them with a mind trained not in perfection, but in resilience. Small acts accumulate. A single morning of discipline might not change your life, but 100 will. One moment of patience might not rewrite your personality, but 1,000 will. One choice to remain calm won't transform your emotional world overnight, but repeated daily, it becomes a part of who you are. The person who practices small acts of strength every day becomes someone who reacts differently, thinks differently, chooses differently. They are no longer moved by every emotion or circumstance. Their stability is earned, not imagined. The beauty of this lesson is that you don't need ideal conditions to practice it. You don't need money, perfect health, a silent room, or a perfect plan. You need only one thing: willingness. The willingness to take the smallest possible step today. The willingness to improve by 1 degree instead of 10. The willingness to do what is right rather than what is easy. Strength grows when you honor that willingness consistently. Many people wait for a dramatic turning point, a new year, a life event, a burst of motivation, to begin changing their habits. But strength is not built in moments of inspiration. It is built in moments of choice. The choice to start even when it feels uncomfortable. The choice to continue even when it feels slow. The choice to remain steady even when life becomes chaotic. Every choice becomes a brick in the foundation of your resilience. There is a profound dignity in this kind of strength. It does not seek attention or recognition. It does not announce itself. It does not demand applause. It grows in silence and reveals itself only when life tests you. A person who has trained their inner strength through daily discipline does not crumble at the first sign of difficulty. They breathe. They adjust. They act. And others can feel that stability, even without a word. To build strength through small daily acts is to form a partnership with yourself. A partnership based on reliability, intention, and patience. It is the slow, steady work of becoming someone you admire. And when you look back months or years later, you realize that every part of your growth was built on tiny decisions that once seemed insignificant. Nothing was wasted. Every moment counted. A life built on Stoic principles is not a life free from difficulty. It is a life strengthened by understanding. Throughout these 5 lessons, a pattern emerges, a shift from external dependence to internal mastery. Instead of waiting for perfect circumstances, you learn to shape your response to imperfect ones. Instead of trying to control the world, you learn to control the meanings you attach to it. Instead of drowning in emotions, you learn to observe them without surrendering your identity. Stoicism does not remove the chaos of life. It removes the chaos inside you. It gives you a structure to stand on while the world moves unpredictably around you. These lessons form a quiet architecture for a resilient mind. Questioning your first reaction teaches you not to accept fear or judgment as truth. Doing less with more intention shows you that depth matters more than speed. Accepting loss without losing yourself reminds you that change is not the enemy, resistance is. Responding less and understanding more teaches you that staying calm is a form of strength. And building daily habits of consistency trains you to trust yourself in ways that no external achievement could ever provide. Each principle is a piece of the same foundation. Stability, clarity, and a kind of emotional sovereignty that is rare in a world built on impulsiveness. When you put these lessons into practice, life begins to feel different, not because the world softens, but because you harden in the best possible way. You stop chasing approval and start cultivating authenticity. You stop waiting for happiness and start creating it. You stop reacting to everything and start choosing your responses with intention. You stop feeling dominated by circumstances and start discovering a powerful truth. The quality of your life is shaped by the quality of what you bring to each moment. This truth is liberating, but it also carries responsibility. The responsibility to take ownership of your choices, your habits, your reactions, your inner world. Stoicism doesn't promise comfort. It promises capacity. The capacity to remain centered when life is disordered. The capacity to grieve without collapsing. The capacity to persevere without bitterness. The capacity to act with strength even when fear is present. It gives you tools to build a life that does not crumble every time something goes wrong. It teaches you how to keep your dignity during chaos, how to keep your clarity during uncertainty, and how to keep your heart steady during change. What makes these lessons transformative is not the philosophy itself, but your willingness to practice. Learning is easy. Applying is rare. And yet, every time you practice, even imperfectly, you carve a new path in your mind. You interrupt old patterns of fear, impatience, or urgency and replace them with presence, calm, and purpose. Slowly, your thinking becomes cleaner. Your reactions become measured. Your decisions become wiser. And everything around you shifts because you shifted first. Living with Stoic strength is not about suppressing emotion or pretending nothing affects you. It's about choosing how you meet each experience. It's about understanding that peace is not found by escaping life, but by engaging with it with enough clarity to see beyond the noise. It's about knowing that you can face uncertainty without losing yourself. Happiness becomes less about what you acquire and more about who you become. The world still moves, but it no longer moves you in directions you don't choose. If you keep these 5 lessons close, they will serve as anchors in moments when you feel lost or overwhelmed. Let them remind you that your mind is stronger than your circumstances, that calm is always an option, and that every challenge contains an invitation for growth. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be willing. With each small practice, you reinforce the truth that your peace is not fragile, your strength is not temporary, and your happiness is not conditional. And if you reach the end of this video, it means something inside you is ready for this transformation. Not someday, now. Before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs these words today. And leave a comment below with the phrase, I choose strength every day. This will be our reminder that happiness, resilience, and clarity are not accidents. They are practices. And you are ready to practice them.